She'll be down here. Oh, geez. The only break you're gonna get is coming here then. Yes.
And my audio is still cutting in and out. I don't hear things.
Well, we haven't said much yet, so hold on we're just about to get underway here.
Okay, that's much better.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. With the posted time having arrived and a quorum of members present, I'll call the Finance Committee for Wednesday, May 13th, 2020 to order. The first item of business on our agenda tonight is discussion and possible action on approving the 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program Action Plan, Coronavirus Aid, Relief and Economic Security, CARES Act, and the reprogramming of homeowner rehab funds from the revolving loan fund into CARES initiatives. And so you've got some information from the Block Grant Committee and from Tammy on this item. Does anybody have questions on this plan? It looks like we've received some federal dollars for allocation. We've had a public-facing application process on those funds, and we've got some recommendations from the citizen panel. Deb, go ahead.
Is Tammy Strotz available?
I'm here.
She's on WebEx? Okay.
Okay, hi Tammy. I guess having worked with community, oh, there you are. Having, nice haircut. Anyways, not used to you with your hair so much shorter, but.
Me neither.
I was going to mention, as part of having been involved in consortium of agencies that work in similar areas about rent, mortgage, and utilities assistance, I guess I was kind of surprised that the Women's Community Center didn't apply, and about the Hmong American Center, I had thought that they could use it on some other miscellaneous things, or 100-pound bags of rice, and it just seems like some of the other FEMA partners that may have had limited funds, like energy services, normally they're handling utilities of electric and heat, and so it seemed unusual to me that some of these partners didn't apply. I mean, did you reach out to them, and it's just that they received the information and then just did not decide to apply?
Yes, we reached out to all the nonprofits. Even the United Way helped us reach out to them. And I'll be honest, I was surprised that we only received 2 applications myself. But I think the time frame is hard, because knowing that we're not going to be receiving the funds from HUD until maybe June, July, it's hard to put a program together for seeing what will the needs be in a month from now versus what they are now.
Okay, it just seemed, I had thought maybe for women's community, especially if they're still serving a number of families in their large home, that there would be kind of an immediate need for masks and other sanitation that would be helpful, especially with a number of families living in the house potentially at this time, and it seems like everyone else is competing for masks and other type of safety, surgical or gowns or other protective things that I thought they probably would be just as affected as some of these other large municipalities or counties or state not finding those kind of supplies and having potential funding for getting them, even if they were at raised prices.
I can't argue with you, but I think, again, it's hard to make anybody apply, and knowing that the funding's not going to come for a couple of months, by then maybe they're thinking that the crisis is going to be gone. I can't speak on their behalf.
Okay, I have just one question also, Tammy, while we have you. In the summary of the allocations, I see that one of the line items was 70,000 for administration of the plan. Help me understand why we need any of the funding allocated to administration when the 2020 budget for staffing in the department is already taken care of? Why can all of this money not flow out into the community?
Because doing this plan has been causing, it costs us money to advertise it, to do extra work on my behalf. We're also sharing it with McDevco because they're going to be advertising it, they're going to be doing reaching out. And if we're able to pay those fees out of these funds because it's a new program, it's going to cost us money to run a program. And the hours I've put into this, developing plans and policies and everything, I think we should be able to pay ourselves for the work that we're doing.
Okay, but we already are managing a number of funds that are, both federal and state dollars, and as part of our 2020 budget, all of the overhead to employ our staff that's doing the work, other than the advertising and the promotional expense, is, I guess 70,000 seemed high, just given the fact that we fund, large percentages of payroll and overhead and benefits out of our standard budget. So I was hoping that some of this allocation, which is designed to flow out into the community to those who need it the most, who are, pretty hard hit by this whole thing, I was hoping we could flow more of that money back out into the community, into the programs, and less in the overhead. But I'm not normally in the business of rewriting the citizen panel's recommendations on the finance floor. I just would like to see a smaller percentage for administrative expense and more of it going where it can really make that difference.
And, I can't say that you're allowed to do that. Technically, we're allowed to do 20% of an allocation. When you look at this, we're at 14.8, I believe. And again, we're sharing this with McDevco because their overhead is going to be high. Mm-hmm. And with advertising, the extra advertising we want to do to make sure we get it out to the small businesses, it's going to cost us a little bit more. And plus, this program, I think, not only is it the money getting it out the door right now, but we're going to have to continue monitoring this for the next couple of years and reporting back. So there's going to be overhead costs for us to be looking over this program for the next couple of years.
Okay.
With no additional funds.
Okay. All right. Well, you talked me into it. Go ahead, Deb.
I guess I'm a little concerned, Tammy. I have worked with you with some neighbors that were using the homeowner rehab program through community develops. And I guess I'm wondering, is there a way we could use the $100,000 as an interfund, as a advance towards the CARES for now without recommitting the $100,000 on a permanent basis to CARES? I just think there's a number of people that may be wanting to go ahead and do repairs to their property, and that there's limited amount of funds anyways most years. So I'm just wondering, can we make a compromise of using the $100,000 of the community rehab funds as a cash flow for now, a cash advance against the CARES, and still keep it designated as $100,000 to be for homeowner rehab?
For future budgets, you mean, or for this year?
Yes, for future.
I didn't sense that it was a permanent changeover, was it? This is a 1 year only, right?
Correct. We have about $120,000 in our revolving loan fund right now, of which we're just requesting $100,000 to be used towards the CARES. We still have over $172,000 in new program funding to go to the homeowner rehab. So we're not stopping the program.
Okay.
Every month we're continuing to getting repayments in, so I don't foresee it hurting our rehab program at all.
I guess I still have a concern about using any of the rehab even for 1 year for the CARES, and losing $100,000. I mean, potentially that could be fixing up 5 to 10 homes that especially for some seniors that may not have other options because of their retirement, and then they're also probably too young for a reverse mortgage. So is there a way we could use the $100,000 as a cash advance for the CARES program? And then when those HUD funds come in, that it goes back into the homeowner rehab?
No, unfortunately, we can't. The CARES money has to go directly to CARES projects. We can't reimburse a different project that doesn't work. I mean, the CARES money has to go to CARES projects, period. If you decide that you don't want to take the money out of the homeowner rehab, we just don't do it. And we just allow less money to CARES.
How has the application flow been into the homeowner rehab? We're almost halfway through the year. So based on the rate of application and the applications that we see in a typical year, I think, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that there are years that we don't loan out all of that money. There's always money in that fund because similar to
Yes.
commercial rehab, there's money there, but people don't always apply and don't want to always use that, take advantage of that opportunity. Is that, I mean, we're coming up on the second half of the year, so is 172,000 enough for a typical year's worth of applications, I guess?
In the last couple of years, absolutely, because we've been receiving almost $200,000 in loan repayments every year. So that's what, $200,000-$300,000 in potential projects. Our issue right now is not people on the waiting list or not enough money to get out the door. It's that we don't have contractors to get the projects done. So it takes a lot longer to get the bidding process done, to get contractors to do the work. So unfortunately, we're not running out of money. We're running out of the ability to get the projects done on a timely basis. So I really don't see us reallocating $100,000 at this point, hurting our rehab program.
Okay, and that would be.
Last year, we ended up reallocating like $125,000 out of our revolving loan fund for a street project, because we also have to get this money. If we don't use it in a timely manner, we get in trouble with HUD if we have to repay it, and then we lose that money. So sometimes it makes sense that we have to reprogram some of the funds.
Sure.
So we can put it into an area that we can get bigger bang for our buck right now versus sending it back to HUD and losing it.
Okay. Deb, go ahead.
Well, I guess it's been a few years since I talked to you about some of that with the homeowner rehab funding, but that, I guess in past years, and maybe I'm going back 5 or 10 years now, that there's always been a waiting list. And I understand if you're having issues with the contractors, and especially with these funds, they have to agree to do certain work according to the city specs in order to get reimbursed. So if there's a lag in here due to the pandemic and other things, then I guess I would be willing to make an exception, but I guess on a regular basis, I think those dollars are needed for so many different homes that I don't like reprogramming it.
All right, we certainly don't want to be in the habit, but I think this time, given the fact that we're in such weird circumstances and uncharted territory, it may make sense, especially since we're halfway through the year and we still would have decent funding left. With that, committee members, any additional questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve the item? Motion by Watson, is there a second? Second by Ryan. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor, we'll call the roll. Herbst? Okay, go ahead, Bruce.
I'd just like to thank Tammy and Michelle for their hard work, putting this plan together so quickly and coordinated. I think it was a tremendous effort.
Yeah, they always do a great job for us, so much appreciated. We'll go ahead and call the roll for the vote. Herbst? Aye. Watson? Ryan?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
I'll vote aye as well, and that item passes unanimously. Item number 2 is discussion and possible action approving the Assistance to Firefighters Grant for COVID-19 response. You see you've got some materials in the packet on that one. Essentially a grant to purchase PPE for our firefighters and EMTs. That would require a small nominal amount of match if we're awarded that, but it certainly would offset our cost in keeping our staff safe. We have the deputy fire chief and the fire chief with us tonight. Does anyone have questions for them about the grant? If not, do we have a motion to approve the application? Motion by Herbst, is there a second? Second by Watson. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor will call the roll. Martins?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Watson? Herbst?
Aye.
I'll vote aye as well. That item passes unanimously. Item number 3 is discussion and possible action regarding modification to the City of Wausau fee schedule for related inspections department fees. You've got some information from Bill Hebert in your packets on that. We also have Bill with us tonight if there's questions, but this is a pretty standard adjustment, just to adjust fees to dovetail with the new zoning code and some of the recent changes that we've made. Anyone have questions for Bill specifically on the fee schedule? Go ahead, Deb.
I went over some of this, Bill, but I guess I saw I believe the occupancy. And so is that applicable just to renter properties, or is it homeowners, or?
No, the occupancy fee is just for new construction, and it's typically a document that's required by maybe the lending institution. So,
Oh, an occupancy permit,
yep.
basically?
Okay, thank you.
All right. With that, do we have a motion to approve the changes to the fee schedule? Motion by Ryan, second by Herbst. Further discussion or questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll. Ryan?
Aye.
Watson? Martins?
Aye.
Herbst? I'll vote aye as well. That item passes unanimously. Item number 4 is discussion and possible action regarding a reallocation for Brockmeyer parking lot improvements for JoJo's Jungle. You'll recall that last week, or at our last meeting, we had talked a little bit about a recommendation we were expecting from Park and Rec, requesting that we would reprogram some of the funding that was approved for the parking lot at JoJo's Jungle to assist the developer who's fundraised almost all of the money to re-add a interactive water feature to JoJo's Jungle. They were able to achieve a lot of the paving work themselves and reduce costs. So we would have this money already available. It would not require any additional borrowing or anything. Does anybody have any questions on that item? If not, is there a motion to approve that reallocation? Motion by Ryan, is there a second? Second by Watson. Further discussion or questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll. Herbst? Watson? Ryan?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
I'll vote aye as well, and that item passes unanimously. Item number 5 is discussion and possible action regarding the March 2020 General Fund Report. Mary Ann, if you'd like to walk us through that.
Sure, of course, March is just the start of the Safer at Home Act, so a lot of the impact really isn't shown in this financial report. Right now, revenues are looking good through March. We have some concerns of certain categories of revenues. Some of those categories that we are concerned about are license and permits, which you can see are down the end of the March as compared to 2019. Fines and forfeitures, so municipal court activity based on traffic and other citations issued by the PD. We're concerned about that for 2020. Our EMS revenues, we're a little concerned about that, and park revenues are just a few of them. I did go through and make a prediction on investment income, and I think we will be okay with investment income, that we will meet our budget. When you look at the budget to actual through March, if you recall when I did the financial presentation at the last meeting, we're required to adjust our investments to market. And right now, we purchased most of our investments at a period where the rate of return on those investments was high. And of course, now interest rates have declined, but those investments are locked in. So they're worth more than they were when we bought them. But because we hold them until maturity, we still only receive the interest that's on the coupon, and we get par at maturity. So that recognizing that appreciation in the value of that bond at this time basically just moves our interest income from one year to the next. So at March, we had appreciation of about just under $280,000. So you can see that 515 that we're showing as actual revenue. That's, I'll say, overstated by 280,000 because that revenue really belongs in a future year when that bond matures, or it will never actually come to be because we'll hold it until maturity. But again, looking at our portfolio, looking at the calls, doing some predictions of where our liquid dollars and what the rates are going to be, I'm expecting that our interest income for the whole year, based on what we actually earn, not that appreciation factor, will be in slightly over 500,000. So we should be okay for the year. So that pretty much takes care of revenues for March. Expenses are tracking in general government and public safety. You can see some pretty dramatic changes when you compare prior year to current year in transportation and streets. Right now, in transportation and streets, we're about $650,000 less than we were March 31st. If we move forward to April, we'll actually see bigger savings. It will be about $750,000 of savings as compared to 2019. Most of that is winter-related. You know, when I look at salt usage, we used about 190,000 less in salt, about 70,000 less in sand. We had about 100,000 less in overtime or comp time, and about 65,000 less in contract snow removal. So there are real savings to the city. And then I looked back at 2018 to see where we were, and we actually are tracking less than we were in 2018 through April, so about 172,000. So that's all, will be very helpful as we go forward and manage our declines in some revenues for COVID-19.
Right. And we are tracking by department our expenses incurred for COVID-19, right?
Yes,
So if
departments
federal
are
or
doing
FEMA
that.
dollars come available that can reimburse us?
Yes.
We have a good accounting?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, does anyone have questions for Mary Ann about the report? If not, we normally just place her report on file. We'll go ahead and do that. We have one addendum tonight. That addendum is discussion and possible action regarding the 2020 budget modification for the Bridge Street repair project. And you'll recall that we had some money budgeted this year to do some repairs to the Bridge Street Bridge to maintain it so that we can get as much life out of it as possible. And with that, we were given some county dollars for county bridge aid. That's a match to help us with that. When those projects go to bid, though, we always try to get the largest amount of work for the same dollar spent to make sure that we're getting that value for the taxpayers. So you see in your packets that when engineering put those out, they've asked for a couple of alternatives to extend the life of the bridge deck, because we know now through the packet information that a new bridge deck is $6 million, and we certainly don't want to pay that any sooner than we have to. So with that, we've got a couple of alternatives. The recommended alternative is that we would shift some funds that we already have to a different line item so that we could undertake the concrete repair and extend the life of that bridge between 10 and 15 years before we would have to redeck. We have Eric Lindman with us, and we have the city engineer with us as well. Alan, if anyone has questions on those bids or on that project, does anyone have questions for them outside the information they put in the packets for you? Go ahead, Deb.
Alan, I forgot the email, so could you do a recap so everyone else knows? Thank you.
Well, I had the staff memo. Are you talking the email to you today, Deb? Okay, I think you had asked the year the bridge the bridge was put up in 1987, and there has not really been a major rehab project on that bridge since 1987. DPW every year does sweeping, cleaning, stuff like that. They do crack sealing, concrete cracks. They put epoxy in it to seal it. Other than that, there's really been no major overlay since 1987. So my math is that's like 33 years. We haven't really done a lot to it. In 2018, we did put a pedestrian rail on the north side of the bridge. That was for bicycle safety and bicycles riding on the Bridge Street Bridge, and we also painted the rail on the south side. But other than that, not much. Now, the base bid in this project is going to be to replace the expansion joints on each end of the bridge and in the middle of the bridge, and also to hammer out and put new concrete in any of the laminated concrete. And then the other two options, so after we put the expansion joints in and repair the delaminated concrete, what we're talking about here is a polymer overlay, which is it's an epoxy overlay with the sand they put in to protect the deck. And that will be like 800, I believe the bids here. That total bid came in at like 815,000. Now so if we go with a concrete overlay, that's like a 2-inch concrete overlay instead of the epoxy. So what that does is it provides a little additional armor to the deck, and it'll give us a few more years of life service to the deck. That's what we hired Ayers Engineering out of Eau Claire, their structural engineer. They were the ones that kind of put the program together for us, and they're recommending that we go up with the concrete overlay. The problem with that, obviously, is what you're seeing in front of you. We had $900,000 budgeted. It came in a little over $1 million, $1,023,000. We're right on engineering estimates, though. I just want to make sure that we realize that we did receive good bids. We received 4 bids, and they were all under the engineer's estimate. So that's good news also, that we are getting good value for the money.
Okay, and we're getting favorable bids on other street and road projects and overlay this year, so that line item shift between street and bridge really shouldn't impact any of the streets that we currently have bid out or in progress for this season, correct?
Right, correct.
So we can complete all the work we plan to do,
Right,
and then still get this done?
Yeah, Fulton Street is under, this Kickbush, where this is coming from, is under construction right now. We haven't had any surprises yet, so that one was under budget, and that's where we proposed to take the money that were under budget on that project and shift it to this one.
Perfect. Anybody have questions for Alan? Go ahead, Deb.
I was just going to ask Alan, with some other concrete that's done for, a homeowner, there's normally this concern about don't use salt in that for 1 year or so. Is it kind of also applicable to the bridge at this point that DPW would only just want to use salt? I mean, not salt, but sand instead as to protect that concrete, or is?
As little as possible, I guess, on any new concrete surface, like we just did First Avenue last fall, and we got it done pretty late. So they tried to just use sand on First Avenue. Unfortunately, anybody that drives Bridge Street bridges are going to the west. There's quite a, deceleration going down to the pick and save, so we're still going to have to use some salt. Included in this number is a protective concrete. They're going to actually, if they do the concrete overlay, they would put a protective coating on it to help reduce the salt penetration into the deck. So that's also included in this bid, is to
Put a sealant on it?
put a sealant on it, correct.
Okay, well, that's helpful. Okay. Anybody else have questions? If not, is there a motion to approve that modification? Motion by Ryan, is there a second? Second by Herbst. Further discussion or questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll. Herbst? Aye. Watson? Aye. Ryan?
Aye.
Martins?
Aye.
I'll vote aye as well, and that item also passes unanimously. That is the last item on our agenda tonight, so we can accept a motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Herbst, second by Ryan. This one we don't have to call the roll on. Members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
We'll stand adjourned, and then common council will start in this chamber at 6:30. So thank you, everyone.